ATLYSS is a pretty decent game, but lately I felt the deep existential dread of realizing that there's a severe lack of content recently, so I've decided to take matters into my own hands because I've officially run out of ideas. So there's one rule for this. I can only use rocks for damage, that's it, no spells, just rocks. I also might have cheated the ability to be in for level 1, so please don't harass me in the comments for it. And surprisingly, this completely changes things in the early game. Instead of feeling like you're at gunpoint as soon as you start existing, it seems pebbles are just too much for some of the monsters near the start of the game, helping us clear through the first dungeon with relative ease. That's when we move on to the tier 2 dungeon of Catacombs. The tier 2 dungeon, the easiest way to break this down is taking every enemy you have already faced, but given a new variant, meaning that they're stronger than before and they're no longer as feeble as their previous counterparts, meaning that the previous explosions are now nothing more than a public nuisance. And of course, that only means that as long as you keep the dodge key handy, then there's really no issue, most of the time. Then afterwards we move on to the boss, whose name is
Zolnaruda.
Zolnaruda, also known as Haunter, possesses 4 major moves. You can use Hyper Beam, Teleport, Energy Ball, and Spinning Blade. And don't get me wrong, this fight is normally easy, but specifically because I have restricted myself from being able to attack normally, I can't possibly kill them fast enough to be able to clean up, so you just have to cope for the rest of the fight and keep throwing their shitty rocks. Now comes the tier 3 dungeon. Things are a bit worse now, as you probably expected. Instead, now you have to deal with stronger variants, those being Poltergeists, Hell Sludges, and Miasmas. And to be honest, really the only one that gave me the most trouble was the Poltergeist, specifically because of the level mechanic, which if you aren't level 13 by the way, is going to either shatter through you or remove all your stamina, which leaves you wide open to be slammed. If you're not a masochist like me, just go and level up. It's really not worth it. So after cheesing my way to the boss of the dungeon, you reach Lord Kazul. It's basically the other guy with a few modifications here and there. To be honest, the strat is the same as it was before. You kite the shit out of him, and again, the only thing that poses a major issue this time is that those guys he summons from the previous fight are now also upgraded, so that means that partway through the fight, you have to deal with an endless horde of Poltergeists and Miasmas. Now here's the thing, is that this fight wouldn't normally be that bad playing normally. The summoning literally only works to counter rocks because it makes our whole kiting method kind of fall apart at times. And here's the thing, if that wasn't actually bad enough, you being too underleveled is also going to cause you to miss almost every single time. I actually attempted this so many times that I eventually ran out of rocks and lost my chance at killing Kazul because I was consistently getting killed one way or another with seemingly no actual way to win. So I had to give it a second shot, and after about another 500 attempts, I actually managed to pull it off, eventually being able to successfully cheese the boss, which brings us to Crescent Grove. Crescent Grove is a bit weird because, funny enough, it's completely different from the kinds of problems you'll have, because if you're familiar with Crescent Grove, Monolith is typically one of the worst things for people to face up against. But Monoliths in this case are actually the easiest, tiered being below Carbuncles and Deadwoods. Really the only problem with this dungeon is Moths and Mushrooms. The main problem with these two being that their speed makes things a bit messy, especially since Mushrooms at times can catch you when you dodge, while Moths will bite you faster than you can ever react. Now, I will cut the Colossus thing a bit short. I don't want to get into it too deep here since I mostly covered it in the other video for how bad it is. Colossus will always be a one-sided encounter if you're going it alone, regardless of any odd strategies you come up with. It doesn't really matter what you do. I also know that there's a bit of an update coming out soon on the horizon, either later this month or next month, so I'll have some ideas then for now, but I may have to maybe make the next video on another game until then, because as of right now, I have officially run out of ideas. I still have a few more here, but I'd like to wait on a few more updates before considering making those. Sorry for also being gone for an entire month. I know my uploading hasn't been the best recently, so there's basically 2 routes I can take. I can either provide you guys with a video of this level of quality and style every month or so around there, or I could tone things down a bit with the editing and the way I currently do things to be more consistent and not disappear for an entire month. I'm more leaning into trying to be more consistent again, because I'm gonna be honest, I think I'm gonna get burned out if I keep doing this. And as much as I love the editing for this video, and as much as I love the effects that I created, there's a lot. Anyways, we have a Discord if you want to come in there. I'll see you guys again later. Good night.